Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Stephanie. And so I am starting my new channel, Pivot. Pivot with Power for women over 40. And this channel is about how women over 40 are in this space where they need to start pivoting, changing careers, changing relationships, changing. And this today's video is how I kind of survived the burnout phase of pivoting my career from a naturopath into an online coach to support women globally. Burnout is real. And there are specific signs of burnout that you might not recognize. And so I want to talk about those things so you can get over the hump and keep going. A lot of times when we are in this space of pivoting, we have this feeling that we have to get it done. If we don't do it, nobody else can do it. It has to be done by us. And over time, that has diminishing returns, and you will find that you'll start procrastinating, you'll start doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but actualizing that pivot into a new road that you can actually see. So in this video, I want to talk about those things because without understanding what burnout is and how you can fix it, you're going to be on this hamster wheel. And I think that hamster wheel mentality is what got you thinking about pivoting from where you are. So here's a thought. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. A lot of times we want to pivot careers when we feel life is becoming really stagnant. And maybe the stagnancy is coming from the fact that you're burnt out and you can't see where you are from a fresh pair of eyes. And so being able to see a new perspective anywhere you are is key to dealing with the burnout. Because the truth is, and I think about it all the time when I'm working, if I start getting brain fog, if my creativity starts to just go out the window, if I can't get myself out of a funk, if I start eating crazy stuff and I start saying stupid stuff like ice cream makes me happy, that's a telltale sign that you're burnt out. Because when you're burnt out, you start looking for excuses not to continue the momentum of the pivot that you're trying to create. So I remember when I was trying to pivot. Hold on. Let me just go back. I pivoted my careers a few times. Let's just be honest. At 58, I've had several jobs and I've created careers for myself. When I first started out, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And pediatrics was my thing because I love children's, as my grandma said, the children's. I love the children's. And when I went to Temple University, I remember the day that I had an ethics class. And the ethics class is like, do no harm, physician, do no harm. You're here to save the world and save people. And I was thinking, yes, that's for me. 50 minutes later, I had another class, and the class was pharmacology. And pharmacology is what you learn when you're trying to understand the link between pathology, which is the disease, and the pharmacology, which is the medicine that you would want to give to somebody who has a particular diagnosis. And so I'm listening intently. And one of the things that was a red flag for me, I might talk about red flags a lot. One of the things that was a red flag for me was the fact that the class was being taught by a pharmaceutical rep. And he was very passionate about what he was saying about, the chemistry of the drug. But when he got to the side effects, I almost fainted. I almost fainted because I couldn't believe that he said with a straight face that yeah, these drugs may cause bleeding ulcers, your butt's gonna fall out, and I don't know, you might die, but ask your doctor today. And to me, that sound crazy. How they say cray cray. And so I remember that experience, and that's when I decided to pivot from naturopathy. I'm sorry, pivot from my desire to be a pediatrician to doing something different because I couldn't bring myself to want to hurt the babies. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't wrap my mind around giving a 8-pound person a drug that might, it just boggled my mind. So the rest of that story is I raised my hand and I said, yo. I didn't say yo, but I was thinking in my head, uh, Does this sound crazy to anybody else? Because we just had a class that says do no harm. And now you're telling me I can harm people, but I have a past. And I'm thinking, I want to cry right now because I was in my feels, right? I keep telling you that. So remember, I said this journey is not glamorous, but it's so rewarding. And so that pivotal moment let me realize, oh my goodness, there's got to be something else. And so I raised my hand. And the professor says, well, if you don't like this, then you probably should try that natural medicine. And I was like, oh, he's speaking my language. And so he was speaking my language because he didn't know that I lived in another country. I lived in Germany, y'all, for like 3.5 years, had a son there, the whole 9 yards. And I got a glimpse of what homeopathic and patient-centered care was like. And I fell in love with that model. So I digress and I'm going back to the story, but that's how I made the conscious pivot that I wasn't going to be a pediatrician, but I wanted to be a naturopath. But that journey wasn't linear. It wasn't linear. Before I actually became a naturopath, I had to go back to school because I had got married and had some babies early. And when I went back to school, I realized when I came out of school, I couldn't get a job right away because there at the time there was no easy path to naturopathy. It wasn't easy. I started doing this like in 2004, 2005, and I started thinking about it in 1998. So I'm thinking about, okay, I graduated, I have two babies now, and what am I going to do? So I became a fitness instructor. And I was good at it too because my undergrad was exercise physiology, so I know how to do that. It wasn't making money, but it was enough to make me get me my first car. And what I did was I got to a point where that wasn't good enough. So I got into property management, and property management was the beginning of the realization of my flipping burnout. Property managing is a very stressful job. People cuss at you, people fuss at you because you're challenging their livelihood where they live. You're questioning why they're not paying their rent. You're telling them to pick up their trash. You're telling them not to fight with their neighbors. You're telling them can't have domestic violence or their music up too loud. So you're the face of the company telling you all of these things, and people don't like you. So, with that being said, I was not well liked as a property manager for those who weren't doing what they were supposed to do, but I was well loved by the people who were there who saw that I had a heart for the people. So, I know this feels like it's going all over the place, but I'm getting somewhere. So, where I'm trying to take you is if you're in your current career and you're starting to feel like your stomach gets upset when you have to think about going to work, whether your hair is starting to fall out or thinning, whether you're starting getting belly fat around the stomach, whether you're starting to have achy joints, that's a telltale sign that you're burnt out. Now, burnout is not specific to one career, it's specific to all careers. So when I transitioned out of uh, um, being a property manager, I left the job because somebody assaulted me. That's a whole nother story. I transitioned into becoming a massage therapist. And then while I was in massage therapy school, I went to naturopathy school and all that extra education started happening. And I noticed that even when I was a massage therapist, I started feeling burnt out in some very specific ways. When you're coaching people, when you're touching people, when you're doing work that's helping other people, you pick up other people's energy. So another way that you will find out that you're burnt out is if you start having emotional experiences that you don't know where they're coming from. If all of a sudden you become really angry and you're not an angry person, that means that you picked up somebody else's energy, and that's going to burn you out because you don't know how to dissipate the emotion that's not truly attached to you. So now this is getting deep. If you start to feel like you're overwhelmed and your shoulders are getting tight and you that's a sign of burnout. What it means is you're squashing your own truth, your creativity, you're not speaking your truth, and your throat chakra is being blocked. Blocked throat chakra will cause a thyroid problem, and the thyroid problem will sometimes manifest in neck tension and upper back problems, and you'll just say, oh, my pocketbook is too heavy. But if you put those two things together that I just gave you, not speaking your truth because you don't want to have no smoke, you're not making waves, you don't like confrontation, then you're going to hold that in and you're more likely to have bronchial infections and problems in the throat. That's another sign of burnout. If your hair is starting to thin and fall out in the root, that is a telltale sign of burnout, because burnout has a lot to do with your adrenal gland. Your adrenal gland is the organ that pumps out salt in fight or flight. And when you have too much salt circulating in your system because you're stressed out all the time, because you're holding your peace, you're not letting them see you sweat, you're trying to figure out how to be calm when you really want to blow the joint up, because this is the reason why you think you want to pivot, then that salt is going to be circulating in your scalp, in the interstitial fluid where your hair follicles are, and it will petrify, meaning dry out your hair follicles, and your hair will start coming out. And that's why a lot of women over 40 start to get baldness. So these are some telltale signs about what it's like to feel burnout. But how do you overcome it? Right? How do you overcome it? The first way to overcome burnout is to recognize and figure out, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good. I need to stop. Women over 40 have a tendency to keep going, like the Energizer Bunny. Do you know we were programmed by some of those commercials that came out back when we were growing up, right? Never let them see you sweat. That meant to swallow your hurt and keep it moving. The Energizer Bunny, keep it moving regardless of what, and do it quickly. And so we've learned these things from a subconscious perspective. And this is why we need coaching, because a lot of what we need is subconscious deprogramming that only a coach can help you identify. We're going through these things and we're feeling burnt out because we can't identify where the angst is coming from. So if you're feeling burnt out, recognize, number one, it's time to stop. And number two, determine, ask yourself, is this mine? Am I an angry person or am I a happy person? Am I depressed and always tired, or am I energetic? And if it's not fitting, then you have to sit down and be quiet. Now, I know being quiet might be difficult, because even though you might shut your mouth, your brain is still going and you can hear a whole conversation in your head. I get that. And so you have to find ways to mitigate to that chatter in your mind. And the best way to do it is do a mindless activity. I created a mindless activity for you. I've actually created not only my books, From Panic to Empowerment books, you can see them behind me, but I've also created a From Panic to Empowerment coloring book, because I find that when we do mindless activities, that anxiety, that burnout can start to dissipate, and we can start to feel into the reality of what's happening. Because unless you slow down, you don't even realize you're burnt out. You know when you're going to find out when you're burnt out? When you have to find somebody like me. After you went to an allopath, after you've taken the medication and nothing's working, you come to me and go, I've been to 15 different doctors and I can't figure out what's wrong with me. What can you do? That's how women come to me. They come to me in a state of sheer panic. And I just say, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. However, there is a gap in knowledge. You don't know what you don't know. And let's have an initial conversation to fill that gap. Once you can fill the gap of the information that you don't know, you're doing something very specific. You are actually identifying your problem. Another reason why we are burnt out is because we don't identify the problem. We just keep looping the emotion without putting a pin on its origin. So you probably didn't know that a naturopathic coach also puts a pin in the origin of your discomfort, and then we work the plan understanding that. That in itself lessens the burnout, because the more you know about why you're feeling so crappy, the easier it is for you to get back to the person that you know yourself to be. So let me just do some 5 things that you can do. Number 1, color, do a mindless activity. Number 2, stop. And when I say stop, put your pocketbook down, take all your clothes off, get in the bathtub, and just sit there with some Epsom salt. That will dissipate the negative energy, recalibrate your cells. It will clear out some of the pain that you might be having in your body, your shoulders, your back, your hips, your legs. Number 3, drink more water. And as you're drinking water, I want you to visualize that you have this darkness in your body, which you do. And as you drink the water, it's dissipating through your whole system and coming out of your body in the form of urine. So you want to make sure that you drink the water and envision flushing yourself. Number four, if that's number three, I'm losing count, but you understand the point. I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to say say to yourself, who are you being right now? How do you want to show up in the future? And however you answer the question, just say, I love all of it. Because when you can love every aspect of your life, you can take away the wisdom and leave the pain behind. It doesn't have to be all jumbled up to where you can't make sense of it. Love all of it, but acknowledge that all of it is there as well. And then separate what you want to keep from what you don't want to keep. And the last thing that I would say is absolutely, absolutely get a coach. Why would I say get a coach? Is because you don't know what you don't know. And if you rely on the information that you have in your head, which is probably filled with limiting beliefs, and you don't add any more information to what you know about your emotions, which are triggered by past trauma, and you only know what you think you know by TikTok and YouTube University about your body's symptoms, then you're never going to get any further in your journey toward recovery, leading to self mastery. And you will always feel burnout to some degree. So how did I get from burnout? Well, I told you the stories about me being a fitness instructor, me being a property manager, being assaulted, me being a massage therapist, and then me becoming Dr. Stephanie, the naturopath. How I got out of the burnout of that was realizing that when my spirit told me it was time to shift and pivot, I did not stay stagnant in where I was. We are meant to elevate. You're supposed to go from this position to this position and elevate here. When you're not elevating, that becomes a stagnant energy. And that creates burnout because then you have something dark pulling on you that's screaming to be revived or moved away from. So basically, we get overwhelmed and burnt out because we stay in things too long. When I realized that I needed to transition out of the brick and mortar office, I didn't drag my feet with the idea. I prayed about it. I got some insight. I did some journaling. I got a coach. And the coach made me see that there's even an evolution as something as powerful as being a naturopath. Beyond that, I became an author, a best-selling author, a speaker, a coach, a course creator, right? There's something, there's always another level. And when you're stuck at a potential level and you're resisting growth and change, you're going to feel burnt out where you are because there's no more juice, there's no more meat in it for you to learn and grow. You've exhausted that. So when you start feeling burnout, ask yourself, is it time for me to elevate? And if it is, what do I need to learn from the position that I'm at so I can take that wisdom to go up to the next level? That is probably the biggest piece of advice that I can give you if you're feeling burnt out. I admonish you to go back and watch this video because I speak extemporaneously. I'm speaking from my heart. I don't have a list of points to tell you. I'm only telling you the journey as I've journeyed it. And I've had some journeys and I've had the pitfalls of being burnt out to the point where I've been hospitalized a few times for heart problems. And every time they would check my heart, nothing was wrong. You know, in naturopathy, when you have a heart problem, you have an anger problem. And that my anger probably stemmed from always swallowing things and never speaking my truth. It came from me feeling like I could never let anybody see me sweat, which meant I wasn't my authentic self. And I'm not saying you have to go around saying, oh, I feel horrible today, you know, give me some grace. No, no. What you can say is, I'm having a day that doesn't feel so empowered, but I know tomorrow or within 5 minutes I will get my groove back. And you don't have to say that out loud, but that's what you need to be saying in your head to dissipate those limiting beliefs. So if you're a coach or you're aspiring to be a coach because you're making a pivot out of one career to the next, I want you to first assess whether you've got all the juice out of the current career that you have, or you're just burnt out because you're being dumped on by everybody else around you. Because you might still love what you do. And if you still love what you do, then try the things that I said, and maybe they will give you a fresh perspective. But if you know that you know that you know that it's time for you to pivot gears and you're looking at being a coach, then I would implore you, admonish you to be respectful of your own personal observation of how you feel about yourself in terms of your burnout experience. Because you can't coach anybody if you're burned out. You have nothing to give. And coaching takes something from you. No, no, let me get at that. Coaching releases some of your wisdom to another person who needs it more because you have an overflow of it. And because you do, you can give it, but you have to have a way to replenish it back. So if you're thinking about being a coach, first assess whether you're ready. And if you're not ready, just do the behind the scenes work. But I wouldn't start coaching people because you know a few things, because a coach has to be responsible for the emotional and the mental health of other people. And your trauma, your burnout can be transferred to someone else, making their problems worse. You might feel better. That's called transference. And this is ethics we're talking about now. But you can't afford to hurt anyone else, because when you're not on top of your game, what's at stake? Your reputation, right? What you're known as. There's no reason why you can't get 90, 95, 98% good ratings and reviews if you're authentically good. So when you're burnt out, ask your question, am I good? If you're not, step away, take a bath, hug a tree. I didn't say that one, right? Color, do something mindful, ground yourself, get a coach. There's a lot of things that you can do to release the burnout. But the one thing I think I need to really bring home, assess whether your desire to pivot is coming from a heart space where you know that it's time for you to go higher because you've learned the lessons where you are. Or are you running from something because you can't handle where you are? Boom. So yeah, being a coach has some very powerful things in it. And so if you like this video, click the like button, share, like, uh, yeah, comment. I'd love to hear from you. I'm doing a retreat in Dominican Republic, March the 12th to the 16th. It's all inclusive. All inclusive. I would love, love, love to have you participate because I want to meet all of you in person. I'm growing this channel from the ground up, so it would be great if you would like, share, and subscribe so we can get more followers, more views to create a community. Women over 40 are pivoting in a way that's necessary, but not too many people are talking about what we need, but this is our spot. All right, and until next time, getting tongue-tied. Until next time, be well. Take care.